Hello, it's April from April's Home, and today I thought I would share with you some of the meals that we've been eating this fall. I have 7 different fall-inspired meals to share with you. This is our last meal here, which I will share with you in a little bit and how I made it. This is a sheet pan dinner that I made up. But before I share this meal with you, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other meals that we've been enjoying so far this fall. So to kick off our fall cooking, I thought that I would start by making a huge pot of vegetable soup here. I've done a hamburger vegetable soup here because I'm going to be sharing this with the grandkids, and I wanted the meat to be able to be easily chewed up here. I have filled this with veggies. We have carrots, onions, celery, mixed veggies, some potatoes, some kidney beans. I've added a little bit of tomato sauce in there as well, and some beef broth. On the side, I'll be cooking up some alphabet pasta so that we can turn this vegetable hamburger soup into alphabet soup. So that is the first of our fall soups and one of the fall dinners this week. Here is how our hamburger vegetable soup turned out. It is a very delicious soup full of hamburger and lots of different vegetables and a nice rich broth. I had mine without the pasta, but I did make up some alphabet pasta for the kids. I always like to keep my pasta separate from my soup, and then when I'm serving it, I put a scoop of pasta in for whoever would like pasta. My husband particularly loves orzo pasta in his soups. And of course, with the grandkids, I thought alphabet soup would be really fun for them. In the fall and winter, I love having soup on the menu, and this one is definitely a lovely fall, rich and hearty soup here. So this is my hamburger vegetable soup, and it was just a very simple soup with beef broth. I cooked up a huge pot, so I put in 3 pounds of cooked hamburger, some frozen mixed vegetables, some canned mixed vegetables. I threw in a can of potatoes that I had that I wanted to use up. And then, of course, I always start my soup with fresh onions, fresh celery, and carrots, all chopped up and sauteed before I add everything else. So that is my soup, the delicious hamburger vegetable soup here. For our next fall dinner, I thought that I would bake up this acorn squash as well as these tenderloin fillets that I found here. They were at my local Fred Meyer, which is a Kroger store, for $5. They are bacon wrapped little tenderloin fillets. So I'm going to go ahead and let these come to room temperature and go into the kitchen and prep my acorn squash. I'm going to go ahead and cut this in half and scoop out the seeds. And then I always fill mine with a little bit of butter and brown sugar to bake. And probably I'll put in a little cinnamon as well, but I'll show you that when we head over to the kitchen. I have cut my acorn squash in half here. I've got one side that's a little bit bigger and this one's a little bit smaller. The smaller one will be for me and this one will be for my husband. And you can see that I've put a pat of butter in each of these and some brown sugar and cinnamon. Put a little less brown sugar in mine since I'm on a lower sugar diet, and typically I would probably say if you're on a very low carb and low sugar diet to omit the sugar. But this is the way I grew up eating acorn squash, and we only eat this a couple of times a year. So I thought I would go ahead and make it the traditional way today because that's just the way I enjoy making it. I've put a little tiny bit of water, about half a cup of water here in the bottom of this pan here, and I'm going to go ahead and get these in the oven at 400 degrees, and I'll just watch these and cook them until they are cooked through. They'll be nice and soft. You can check them with a fork, and when the fork can easily pierce through, that is when they're done. They'll get a little bit nice and brown, and the sugar and butter will melt. So that's what we're looking for. And I'm going to go ahead and let these get cooking. My steaks are again coming to room temperature, and I will be searing those and getting those in the oven to finish off as well. But we'll wait until these squash are nearly cooked to do that. My acorn squash is out of the oven. You can see the butter and sugar has melted together, and when you take a fork, it will easily pierce the side here. I'm going to go ahead and let these cool down for a bit while the steaks finish up in the oven. I have seared those off nicely and popped them in the oven for just a little bit to cook the rest of the way through. And I'm going to go ahead and plate up our steaks and acorn squash with some salad. So here is our dinner tonight, the baked acorn squash and a filet steak. On the salad, I've used my new Lighthouse Dill Ranch dressing. It is really wonderful. I think it may be one of my new favorite salad dressings. So this is tonight's dinner, our delicious beef filet with this beautiful squash here, full of autumn flavor and a nice salad on the side. I'm going to go ahead and take a fork and mix in all this delicious butter and sugar to flavor up the squash nicely, and it will go along great with tonight's dinner. For tonight's fall dinner, I'm going to go ahead and make a skillet meal here with our Oktoberfest sausage, as well as some cabbage, onions, and apples. I'm going to slice those all up and get them cooking in the skillet here. I'll probably brown these in a different skillet and then add them to the skillet where the cabbage, onions, and apple are sauteing. And then in the oven, I'm also going to roast up some sweet potatoes as well as 2 additional apples, so that we can have some nice sweet apples for dessert, nice roasted apples for dessert, and the sweet potatoes for a side dish. So I'm going to go ahead and get everything chopped up and cooking. I have cut up my cabbage and onions and apples, and I'm sauteing it in this pan here. I'm going to go ahead and brown the sausages in another skillet and then add them to this pan to continue heating through. And I'm going to go ahead and put a lid on it so the cabbage and onions and apples can cook all the way through. And so we'll have this really nice skillet meal for dinner tonight, along with our baked yams and our apples for dessert. This is how I'm roasting up my sweet potatoes. I just like to wash them and cut them in half and lay them here on this baking tray lined in parchment. And I've decided to go ahead and roast my apples right along with them. Oftentimes I'll roast my apples separately in a dish with a little bit of water, but I think I'm going to see how well they roast up just here with the sweet potatoes. I have cored the apples here and filled them with some raisins for natural sweetness and sprinkled them with a bit of cinnamon. So we've got these roasted up. This will be more sweet potatoes than we need for dinner, but we love to have sweet potatoes as leftovers or with another dinner. So I like to just get those all cooked up at once. And I'm going to go ahead and get these in an oven roasting at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. This will take close to an hour, but I'll check on that and let you know how long it takes in my oven. Our apples cooked quite a bit quicker than the sweet potatoes, so I went ahead and took these out to set aside for a nice dessert for tonight. We'll probably eat this right along with our dinner, so it's nice and warm. I'm going to go ahead when I serve these and add a little whipped cream to the side. And here is how our dinner turned out. You can see the sauteed vegetables here, the onions, cabbage, and the apple. Here is the sweet potato all roasted up, and I've peeled it and mashed it and added a little butter. Here are the Oktoberfest sausages. And then for dessert, we have the baked apple with raisins and cinnamon with a little dollop of whipped cream. So that is our delicious fall meal tonight. Tonight for dinner, I'll be roasting up some chicken hindquarters with some veggies. I've got baby carrots, green beans, and a chopped up onion, and I'm going to mix those with some olive oil and balsamic vinegar, as well as a few Italian seasonings, onion, and garlic powder. So I'm going to go ahead now and mix up the veggies and get them prepped, and then I'll add them right here into this pan with the chicken and roast them together at 425 degrees Fahrenheit. I've got my carrots in a bowl here. And now I'll be adding 2 medium onions that I've chopped up here. And next I'll be adding this bag of frozen fine green beans. These are the longer green beans, and I love using these for roasting in the oven. I've used a wooden spoon to get these all stirred together, and now I'll go ahead and drizzle this with some olive oil. So just drizzling on some olive oil here. I'm gonna get a little bit more there as well. I had to open up a new olive oil there, so just a little drizzle there, and I'll make sure once I stir it that it's all evenly coated with olive oil. I'm going to just add a little sprinkle of Italian seasonings. I don't want a lot, just a little bit. Some salt, some pepper, a little sprinkle of onion powder, as well as some garlic powder, and just use the amount of spices that you prefer. If you like a little bit more or a little bit less, go ahead and just base it on your preferences. I don't put a ton of spices in here just enough so that you can taste a little bit of everything. So now I'm going to go ahead and stir this all together. Okay, everything is stirred together, and I'm going to go ahead and put this in the pan with my chicken. Then I will also season my chicken and add our balsamic vinegar. So everything is in the pan. Now I'm going to go ahead and season my chicken with a little bit of the Grill Mates Chicken Montreal. This Chicken Montreal, this is the less sodium variety. This is one of my favorite ways to season my chicken. So I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle that on the chicken. Maybe a little bit more on the veggies as well. And then over the top of everything, I'm going to go ahead and shake some of this balsamic vinegar over the entire dish here. This is the balsamic vinegar that I get at Trader Joe's. So now I've put on the balsamic vinegar, and we'll go ahead and get this in the oven again at 425 to roast until the chicken is cooked through and the veggies are roasted. And then in the end, we'll go ahead and sprinkle a topping of goat cheese over this entire dish. So I'm going to get this in the oven, and I'll be back to plate up dinner when it's ready. Here is my roasted chicken dinner here, all cooked through. I have used a thermometer to check that the chicken is thoroughly cooked and the vegetables are nice and roasted. And now I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle all over the top of this some crumbled goat cheese from Trader Joe's. Here is the goat cheese, so I just like to sprinkle it over the top here while everything is still warm and delicious. So just like so, some nice crumbled goat cheese. And as I serve this up, it'll kind of mix in to all of the veggies. I'm going to go ahead now and serve up a plate. Here is my dinner plated up. It is so nice to cook everything in one pan like that. And this is just a beautiful meal here, perfect for fall with all these delicious roasted veggies and this chicken here. It's very flavorful. I'm going to go ahead and try a bite of the chicken here along with a piece of carrot. And that has a really nice flavor. So that is my dinner tonight, a beautiful balsamic vinegar roasted chicken and veggies all in one pan, and finished off with a sprinkle of goat cheese. I hope you give this meal a try. Tonight for dinner, I'm going to make some sheet pan nachos, but instead of using nacho chips, I thought that we would do sweet potato fries, so sort of like a nacho fry, but with sweet potatoes. So I'm going to go ahead and cook up these sweet potatoes and get my taco meat cooked up, and then we can assemble our sweet potato fry nachos. My taco meat is cooking away, and so are the sweet potatoes. Sorry if you hear the dishwasher in the background here. I'm just getting some dishes done up before dinner time. And I've got here a can of drained and rinsed black beans, a drained can of sliced black olives, half a bunch of green onions chopped and ready to go. I'll be using half a can of this whole kernel corn. We'll drizzle it with some salsa con queso, and also we've got some Mexican style cheese and sour cream to top it with. So in just a minute I will pull out the sweet potatoes and we will assemble our nachos. I have added the taco meat to our sweet potato fries, and now I'll add the cheese, the black beans, corn, and olives, and return it back to the oven until the cheese melts, and then we'll top it with sour cream and green onions. And here are our sweet potato sheet pan nachos with all of the toppings melted. I've added the sour cream, green onions, and black olives to the top. I've also set out some green taco sauce if anybody would like to add that to the top of these sweet potato fried nachos. So we're just going to scoop up a serving onto a plate and enjoy some sweet potato fries, sheet pan nachos for dinner tonight. Tonight for dinner, we're going to have some ham steaks with some broccoli au gratin. This is a low-carb broccoli au gratin, and I've got some of the Kirkland Costco broccoli florets that I will go ahead and steam up in the microwave here. I've also got some mushrooms that I'm going to go ahead and saute to serve alongside this meal as well. After the broccoli is done steaming, I'm going to make the mixture to turn it into broccoli au gratin, and then I'll go ahead and get that baked up in the oven. This is just going to be a small batch. It's just for my husband and I, so I will only be using half a block of cream cheese, about half a cup of sour cream, and some cheese. So I'm going to go ahead and prep the mushrooms and get the broccoli florets cooking, and then I'll come come back to stir up the cheese sauce and get the broccoli au gratin into the oven. Okay, my broccoli has steamed. Now I've put half a block of cream cheese as well as half a stick of butter into this bowl here. I'm going to go ahead and heat this up a bit so that I can stir it together with the cheese and sour cream and then blend it in with the broccoli. While I'm doing that, I've got my mushrooms over here sauteing in a little bit of olive oil with some Italian seasonings and garlic. When these are done sauteing, I'll either take them out or put them to the side, and I'll use this pan to fry up my ham slices. I have melted up the butter a little bit and softened the cream cheese. I'm going to go ahead now and add a half a cup of sour cream to this mixture as well, and some pepper. Just like to put in a few dashes of pepper and a few dashes of garlic. So I'm going to go ahead and get the sour cream stirred in, and then I'll come back to add the cheese. To the mixed up sour cream, cream cheese, and butter, I'm adding about a cup of shredded cheddar cheese. And I'll go ahead and get that mixed in as well. When I get this all mixed in, I'll go ahead and add my bag of broccoli. My broccoli is nice and steamed and ready to go, so then I'll blend it all together with this, and then we'll get it in a greased small casserole dish. I've also got my oven preheating to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I have added in my bag of steamed broccoli, and now I'm going to go ahead and stir it all together to coat the broccoli with the cream, cheese, and cheddar cheese mixture. Here's what the broccoli looks like when it's all coated in the cheesy mixture. Now I'm going to go ahead and transfer it to this small casserole dish here. Here is the broccoli au gratin in the casserole dish here. It is so nice to have some smaller casserole dishes when it is just my husband and me, so I don't have to make a very large casserole for every single meal. This is definitely more than 2 servings though. So a nice casserole here of broccoli au gratin. We'll definitely have some leftovers for lunch. I'm going to go ahead and add a thin layer here of cheese to the top. Just a little thin layer. And I'll get this baking in my 350 degree oven for about 20 to 25 minutes until it's hot and bubbly and all the cheese has melted. While it's baking, I'll finish up my sauteed mushrooms and cook up my honey ham steaks. When everything's ready, I'll get it all served up for dinner. I have decided to fry up the ham steaks right in with the mushrooms just so I don't have to dirty up another pan or worry about setting the mushrooms to the side. I'll just go ahead and heat these ham steaks all the way through and get them nice and browned on each side. As you can see, the mushrooms are nearly done. Here is my broccoli au gratin casserole out of the oven. This took a little bit over 20 minutes and it is hot and bubbly and ready to serve up. So I'll go ahead and serve up our broccoli au gratin with our ham slices and mushrooms. And here is my dinner served up tonight. I'm going to start with half a slice of ham here, a nice pile of delicious sauteed mushrooms, and the broccoli au gratin casserole. I think that this will make a delicious dinner tonight. The broccoli au gratin casserole definitely adds a comfort food component to this meal. So that is our dinner tonight: ham steak, sauteed mushrooms, and broccoli au gratin casserole. For the last fall meal here, I'm going to make another easy sheet pan dinner here. I've got an onion and some delicious bacon Gouda sausage here, some frozen sweet potatoes, some frozen Brussels sprouts. I've got salt and pepper, garlic powder, sauerkraut, and some olive oil. So I'm going to go ahead and cook this as a sheet pan dinner. I'm going to chop up my onion and open up my sausages. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and partially steam both of these veggies here. These are in steamable bags, so I'm going to go ahead and get these started so that they can kind of cook along with everything and not be totally frozen when I cook them in the sheet pan. So I'm going to go ahead and steam each of these for about 3 minutes each, and I'll cut up my onion and open my sausages. Then I'll get everything laid out on the sheet pan, drizzle it with some olive oil, salt, pepper, and garlic powder, and get them cooking. And I will cook that all and serve it alongside of some sauerkraut when it's done cooking, and probably some nice grainy mustard. So I'm going to go ahead and get these cooking and everything prepared, and I'll come back to show you what it looks like before we get it in the oven. I have pre-steamed my sweet potatoes and Brussels sprouts and chopped up my onion. I've laid them out on my sheet pan here on parchment paper. I've got a wooden spoon here, and I've drizzled this with some olive oil, salt, pepper, and garlic powder, and you just can season those to taste. Going to carefully toss these around here and make sure everything's coated with olive oil. Then I'll go ahead and place my sausages down. My oven is also preheated to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. I have tossed all the veggies together and made sure that they've all got a little coating of olive oil and spices, and I've laid out all of my sausages. Any of your favorite pre-cooked sausages would do. Of course, you can do this with uncooked sausages. You just have to make sure to cook them quite a bit longer and temp them out just to make sure they're thoroughly cooked. That's why I love using the pre-cooked sausages in recipes like this. It just makes it so easy. And I'll keep my wooden spoon handy off to the side while these are cooking. About halfway through the cooking time, I'll probably cook these for about half an hour or so, between 25 minutes and half an hour. About halfway through, I will open up my oven and give these all a stir and flip the sausages and just check on how everything is going. So I'm going to go ahead now though and get these in the oven. Set my spoon aside here and I'll go ahead and get these in the oven again at 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'll let you know when they're all finished how long it took. My sheet pan dinner has cooked through. It took 45 minutes. Around the half-hour mark, I had flipped it once, but I just wanted to get a little bit more color on everything, so I gave it an additional 15 minutes. Everything is cooked through, and now I'm going to go ahead and plate this up with a little bit of sauerkraut and brown mustard for dinner tonight. Okay, so here is our sheet pan dinner tonight, all served up. We've got our roasted Brussels sprout, sweet potatoes and onions, along with our sausages and some sauerkraut and grainy mustard. This was such an easy meal to cook. I love sheet pan dinners. It is such an easy way to cook up a delicious meal, and I really love cooking these sheet pan dinners in the fall with all of these rustic style vegetables and sausages, and it is just the kind of meal that I'm looking for in the fall. So this is tonight's dinner, my sheet pan sausage meal with Brussels sprouts, sweet potatoes, and onions. So I have a bite here with a little bit of sweet potato, onion, sauerkraut, and sausage, and I'll go ahead and give this a try. That is definitely a delicious flavor. I love the sauerkraut with the onions and sweet potatoes and the savory sausage. It's really good. I'm sure the Brussels sprouts will also be delicious. So I hope you give this meal a try. It was really easy and a delicious meal for fall. So that wraps up my meals, what we've been eating this fall, 7 different fall dinner ideas that you can try. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at some of these different dinners that we've been enjoying so far this fall, and I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.